There is something that each one of us should understand, and it's very simple. It is that if someone is being egotistical towards you, being toxic in his words, and if you feel hurt, it is the egotistical part of you that is feeling hurt. That is to say that the ego can only hurt the ego. It can't hurt your true self, your true being, because that is beyond the ego, and the ego is beneath it, and the ego can't reach there. So the ego can only hurt the ego because it connects with the ego. It can only fuel that or actually destroy it as well. And it happens this way. If you have a small ego, usually people mean this in a negative way. Oh, he has a very small ego, they say. He gets hurt very easily. But I mean, if you have a small ego, if it's fragile, then it gets destroyed very easily. And when it gets destroyed, then you are free from it. So for example, someone is being toxic towards you, saying bad stuff. If you have a small ego, at first you will feel hurt. Maybe for a few minutes you will feel hurt, but as soon as the ego is done with, it is destroyed, then you don't mind it at all. Then you just look beyond whatever he is saying, right? But if your ego is big in you, then the less they say, the faster you'll get hurt. It won't even take a second of their words or a minute, and you'll respond and react, and you'll fume and rage bait. Basically, you'll get rage baited. So small ego is it happens through experience or through time or through some inner search or whatever. Anyway, that's for the small and the big ego. But if you have dealt with your ego completely, that is through whatever means, through going through life and adventures or meditation or inner work or knowledge can also help you reach there. Having different perspectives can broaden your viewpoints. But anyway, if you have dealt with your ego, then if someone says egotistical things, it seems funny to you, it seems childish, you don't react it at all, you disregard it, look beyond it. There's no connection of multiplication or anything like that. It's like you're being yourself without the ego is a white wall, and the ego, another person's ego and toxic words is like throwing paint and color at the white wall. It don't matter because it can always be repainted, and there's a solving answer there. Anyway, but if you look at the opposite of what I'm saying, the ego can only hurt the ego. That is what I'm saying is the ego can only hurt the ego and it cannot hurt the self. But the opposite of it, think about that. Can the being, the self, the stuff that is beyond the ego, can that connect with the ego of some another person and make him understand and make him see beyond the ego to something that is righteous and kind and pleasant? So can the being, can the self, can the awareness, can the right matter in you touch the ego of someone else? That is the question. So you might see like people listening to spiritual gurus and leaders, and these gurus supposedly have seen through the ego and beyond the ego, and in a way the people who are listening to the gurus, they are still in the egotistical state, right? And they need some help, right? That's why they visit them and they go as audience members and whatnot. So can that guru actually help someone who is egotistical? I am of the thought that the being, the righteous being in someone cannot relate with the ego. That means it can't help the ego of someone, but it can only touch the being the righteous self of someone else. So if a spiritual guru is speaking to an audience member who is full of ego, he does not address his ego at all. He addresses the being inside of him in hopes that the being will awaken, and then that person, the being, the self in that person will deal with the ego, the negative part of him. It's like, for example, the righteous self of the person, that which is beyond the ego, it does not knock on the door. The door is the ego, right? It does not knock on the door. Instead, it stands behind the door and speaks, and the words can be heard inside the room in which the matter, the substance that's beyond the ego can hear it. And then that person gets up and opens the door himself, which is the ego, right, and deals with it himself. This is to say that the ego can only hurt the ego, and not the being, the awareness, whatever you want to call it, in someone else. And the opposite of that, the question, can the being relate to the ego in someone? That is something that anyone can, I think upon and evaluate if it can do it or not. Maybe sometimes it does. Maybe sometimes it does not. Anyway, that is it.